Welcome on into Battlehawks Hub postgame. My name is Luke Slabaugh. That's Judy Strawder. We're presented by DraftKings, by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, and by Hot Shots STL. This is Sports Hub STL, and we're talking Battlehawks football. Potential UFL championship game, Birmingham Stallions in town. Playoff implications abound. And St. Louis escapes by the hair of their chinny chin chin. 29-28, the final. Judy Strawder. Break it down for me.
What a game. I mean, what a game. That's why I said, because normally I'm already on my way home by now. And I, texted you guys and I was like, look, I can't leave this game. This game is way too good. Yeah. Taylor Thorne just said, yeah, what a game. And it really was. What a game. It was just a nail biter to the end. It was incredible. Oh my gosh, I'm just loving my life so much right now.
These last few games, the Battlehawks have shown a flair for the dramatic at the Dome, and it was really the Battlehawks defense that came up in the moments that mattered. They bent and they never broke.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It really was the defense.
We lose you there, Judy?
Yeah, we did. All right, we're back. I'm so sorry. But no, it really was.
Live television, everyone.
Yeah, right. No, it really was the defense's game because honestly, Max left something to be desired. It was like we lost faith in the run game and he started just passing and it just, I don't know. It was a lot, but the game at the end, I just can't even believe that we pulled it out. It was a crazy game. It was so exciting. Jamar Jackson, I actually can't even believe they started him today. And I know why they did because he had that comeback win from last week. Harrison Mevis, he had that huge field goal attempt and made the goal. But anyway, it was just, what a game. I mean, literally, what a game.
Well, let's talk about that last drive. Kakaw, JG says there in the chat here live on YouTube. I want to thank you all for tuning into us here on Sports Hub STL. The reason that Jamar Smith got the start at quarterback, I mean, he and Skip Holtz have known each other for a long time, going back to their days at Louisiana Tech. So they've got this rapport. And on the Fox broadcast, there was a lot of jawing going on back and forth, almost to a disturbing degree that Holtz was kind of berating him and being like, why didn't you do X this play and blah, 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 blah. And going through the past and kind of trying to coach him in real time. And Joel Klatt, the analyst, thought that was a huge no-no. But of course, St. Louis took the lead with just over 3 minutes to go. 29-28, Jacob Saitlers with a good rushing game. And then Smith and the Stallions start driving down. There's a pass interference call on Chris Payton-Jones with under the 2-minute warning. And then next play, on 3rd and 11, Smith airmails it to Jay Sternberger. They get the first down conversion to Jordan Thomas. And then with a running clock under a minute to go, they get a false start on Barry Wesley. So there's a 10-second runoff. The next snap to Smith is botched. He's tackled for no gain. And then the play that you're referring to, the next play, handoff to running back C.J. Marable. Travis Feeney wraps him up, forces his second fumble of the day. Miles Jones pounces on it and recovers as the Battlehawks wind down the clock and win this one 29-28 and win their 4th game in a row.
Yes. I mean, our defense and special teams were just incredible today. Our offense definitely was something to be desired. It was like they didn't know where they were coming or going. Were they going to do the run game? Were they going to do the pass game? Even in my section, I was talking about how me and Phil McGee and we're not on the same page. I don't see the offense the same way he sees the offense. I just don't. The calls he makes would not be calls that I make. But at the end, we got a W. So it's kind of hard to argue anything he does when you get a W. But I think Coach Kasky, he kind of gets the win today.
They seem to have figured out the extra point situation out now. There's a lot of draws and even a couple of checkdowns to Jacob Sailors, which seems to be the high percentage move in their eyes. A lot of going for one. They have yet to attempt a 3-point conversion so far
But
this
they
season.
did it too today. They did do a 2-point conversion today. And that was huge for me. Like I made that in my notes that I was like, holy cow, we're doing something different. And I know why they did the 2-point conversion because it made it like within like a field goal range. So like I know why they did it. And had that not been the case, I don't honestly think we would have gone for that 2-point conversion.
Hmm. You had mentioned your issues with offensive coordinator Phil McGeegan, and it seemed like the run game was very start and stop. To your point, Jacob Sailors would rip off, a 20-yard run, and then there would be a couple of steps backwards. In particular, I'm thinking in the third quarter, they had to get Sailors out of the game after a 22-yard gain, and the next handoff went to Jarvian Howard, and it was a fumble recovered by the Stallions. So I think they've yet to figure out who they're giving it to and what paths they actually want, whereas the offensive line continues to, I think, put up a respectable showing.
Well, and I think that actually, like, exactly what you're saying is exactly what we need to figure out because to me, this is the championship game. What we played today is exactly what we're going to see in a few weeks for the championship game. It is going to be us against the Stallions. I wholeheartedly believe that. So, whatever kinks that we had today, those are the kinks we need to figure out. And I'm not saying that we don't need to figure out the next couple of weeks because obviously we do because DC is in the same running. We need to, keep our first or second slot so we can even make it to the playoffs. But ultimately, we are going to see us and the Stallions in the championship game. I feel like I just watched the championship game.
It definitely had a championship atmosphere there at the Dome. As we hear a comment from JG down there on YouTube saying that you got to find ways to get Hakeem Butler the ball. He is
But
the
he did.
leading
He made a
receiver
huge
today for the
play.
Battlehawks.
Hakeem made a huge play late in the game. So, and I agree with that. But I feel like after that, interception, run return, when the Stallions had it, that's when I feel like we really shifted to the run game, and that it was almost like we kind of lost faith in Max Duggan for a hot minute. I really do kind of feel that way that we did. But I actually I still can't believe that they started Jamar Smith. I just can't. I'm just shocked by that.
Finishes with a passer rating of 107. Jamar Smith does 14 of 27 and 262 in the air, 3 touchdowns, though it was, I think, some single high safety stuff going on early for the Battlehawks, and they just missed a couple of slant passes that ended up going for long catches and runs. You could point to a lot of things on film next week and say, oh man, if they contain this, I mean,
Mhm.
12 points off turnovers for the Stallions and then those busted coverages there. This game could have looked a lot differently, but to Birmingham's credit, they did play a heck of a game down to the final seconds.
Oh, no, well, that's why I keep saying, like, this is the championship game. Like, what we just watched is what we're going to watch in a few weeks. I mean, it was one heck of a game. I, that's why my voice is almost gone because I just was losing my mind on so many different plays. I was just super stoked about it.
See a comment from Anthony C. says, heck of a statement to seal the win after that pass interference. The defense and running game will be the reasons if this team wins it all. And that's true. I mean, you go back to the Michigan game for a second and just how much that defense was giving up, and they were still the offense came through at the end and got
Mhm.
some chunk plays to Hakeem Butler. But yes, the defense standing strong, and one of these days, I think St. Louis will win the time of possession battle. I know Birmingham did today, but when they figure that all out, this team's going to be unstoppable. And right now they are 4 games in a row and 4-0 with Duggan under center. So despite his shortcomings in the air, sometimes he's small zone
Oh.
number early on, and sometimes his offense
So
fails him.
you say that we're gonna win the time of possession. Honestly, in the end, does it really matter when our defense figures it out and they get the W?
No, but are you going to count on your defense to get 3 turnovers per game?
Okay. All right.
That's
All right.
not a guarantee.
All right.
Again,
All right. Look. So I mean, like, we had O'Reilly, his name, it started with the C.
Callahan.
O'Reilly, they got that one interception. And he's a guy that, I mean, normally I know every player, their number. I see it. I know it. I was like, who is this kid? But that was so awesome that he just like made it happen. And so you're right. No, we cannot count on the defense to get 3 turnovers every game. Because honestly, after today's game and what you told me, what you heard on the sidelines, Jamar Smith is not going to play another game for Birmingham. This was the game. This literally, to me, this was the game that said which team is going to go to the championship. I stand firm on that.
Looks like it's going to be between the Michigan Panthers and the Birmingham Stallions over in the USFL division. Callahan O'Reilly, a Bozeman, Montana product, a good old Montana State Bobcat, I believe they are. Good to see him getting in with the pick 6 to give the Battlehawks a temporary lead there late in this game in the second half. And to your point, there's one more piece of the equation left for St. Louis. They need Arlington to lose tomorrow against DC, and then they will have clinched a playoff position, and they currently right now just a half a game ahead of the DC Defenders in the XFL division. So it will be between the Battlehawks and the Defenders for the conference and also for the first and second place seeds. Now, we had heard a little bit of a whisper earlier this week,
right,
that DC might not be able to host a playoff game even if they get the number 1 seed.
Correct.
So that is it could be Battle Dome regardless in a win for the UFL. But as of right now, all the momentum on St. Louis aside to take the conference and hopefully, get into that championship game.
So I have repeatedly said that Arlington is a sleeper team. So it's hard to say how tomorrow will go because I almost feel like they would on purpose upset DC and just kind of, who knows? They might not be able to pull off the win either. But no, tomorrow's going to be huge to see what exactly we're going to do. I might have passed on the information that people need to be ready to have another home game at the Dome and need to clear their schedules for, a huge, goodness gracious. That's the whole thing. Like between the Defenders and the Stallions, it's just huge. I might have been cheering a little bit, like in the Dome, talking about, college law and being like super stoked. But I also have to say that AJ McCarron would be really proud of us right now. This was the game that we lost last year, and we won it by 1 point. 1 point. We won it this year. We lost it by that same margin last year, and we won it this year. I think AJ McCarron would be really proud of us.
Certainly would be. And of course, his protege, Manny Wilkins, started out the season under center for the Battlehawks, and then the baton was passed to Max Duggan. They have not missed a beat. Battlehawks Hub postgame is brought to you by Hot Shots. That's St. Louis's home for all the games, all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. Looks like we're doing DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits, better payouts, bigger wins only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
But I'm not done yet, because I would be doing a disservice to you, the fans at home, the heroes watching this right now, if I didn't mention one of the main sponsors here, Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. With the new Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken Battlehawks box, you can score up to 30% off Battlehawks tickets. One final home game this regular season. You got to do it. You can get 4 of their famous breast strips and a side of potato wedges for $8.99 only at Lee's Famous for Chicken. They throw us a curveball every week, Judy. They threw a waitress with the Hot Shots graphic up there this week, and I lost.
That is true.
I mean, I lost. Joe Roderick and I, John back and forth, while you're talking to David Kenzie, being like, oh, what's it like running this whole thing? I said, Joe, you got to tell me the graphics. You got to tell me the graphics.
I know. Well, I mean, that was like a whole day's worth of information that he put in there.
I'm still reading the graphic right now. It's been 4 days, and I'm still figuring out what that graphic was supposed to say. There was a lovely woman in the Hot Shots thing. I don't know what that means.
She was super awesome. But you mentioned a great thing about today when you said the heroes. That was the whole theme of today. The flag that we all got was heroes related. So thank you a whole bunch to all of our first responders, all of our military. I really appreciate all of you guys. And today was y'all's game. And doesn't surprise me that y'all brought us home a winner.
Yeah, David Kinsey, of course, was on, the Vice President of Business Operations for the Battlehawks, and this was the Hats Off to Heroes game. And specifically now with the bad weather that just came through the area and the storms, and people having lost their lives here in the Midwest, it definitely hits close.
They said 5 people. They said 5 people in St. Louis alone.
And that definitely hits.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's our hometown. We love this place. And, you know, hard to think about football when you've got stuff like that so immediately close to home.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So our love is going out to all of their family members for sure. But St. Louis brought home a win in the wake of the disaster. St. Louis brought home a win. It was just huge. Again, I promise you, Girl Scouts honor. Girl Scouts honor. This will be our championship game. I wholeheartedly believe it.
It's what the St. Louis area has wanted since 2020. We saw a couple of rarities in the game today, specifically from 58 yards out, the first Rodrigo Blankenship miss this season. It was no longer perfect.
I have to admit, I was kind of hoping that we wouldn't talk about that. I'm wholeheartedly admitting that I was kind of hoping that we wouldn't talk about that because he missed and then he nailed it. Well, and Luke, you know, you and I, we are MIZ.
ZOU.
Yeah, we love Harrison Mevis. And he was pretty awesome today. It was so hard. Like, it was so hard to, you know, I can't root against him. I just can't. It was so hard. That part was hard today. But I love him to death. He did great. And thankfully, ultimately, we put out the win. But no, you're right. I cannot believe that Rodrigo missed that 58-yard attempt. That's just so unlike him.
And here's the thing. It was online. He just doinked it off the crossbar. So he misses one from 58 yards out right before half. He makes up for it later in the game, hitting a 49-yarder. And Mevis, as you mentioned, the thicker kicker from Mizzou, 3 of 3 with his long going for 44. So you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. You can support the old Tigers and also see the home team win. And yes, we've got one more regular season home game coming up, technically on the schedule listed as an away game, but the league gifted the Battlehawks an extra home game because of their attendance, as we're carrying this thing on our shoulders, and they get the San Antonio Brahmas next Friday.
Well, you know, and Luke, I'm going to be honest that I was a little surprised that the dome was as empty as it was. And when I say empty, like that's empty for St. Louis. We didn't have any Cardinals home games, Blues home games, City home games. Like, we didn't have any home games. I really kind of thought we would have showed up a lot more, especially again, knowing what this game meant to St. Louis. Uh, playing the Stallions was huge. I mean, absolutely huge.
I think it comes down to how are you going to keep fan engagement up while, you've got other things going on now. Yes, the weather just hit, and also the weather's, it's going to get better. Like as summer approaches and this thing rolls on into June, you got to get butts and seats. And sometimes an indoor dome, off Washington Avenue in downtown St. Louis, it's not going to be an easy draw if you're getting a lot of your traffic from the suburbs or even just, outside, Central West End or
So,
Midtown or something like that.
so I will tell you, as a parent of two kids who are born in May with birthdays, and then graduations and everything else, it is like there is a lot, even like outside of sports, that are competing because, I mean, after I leave here, I'm going to Point Fest. So that was my
That's
own,
right.
like, right? Yeah. So there are a ton of things that are happening in the city, and I'm so thankful that all these things are happening in the city. It's just hard to kind of balance all of that. But my love for spring football, I had to miss half a Point Fest because if I don't support it and you don't support it and the rest of St. Louis doesn't support it, who's gonna support it? And you know, I I mean, I don't know for you, but the plan for me is that you and I are back next year, living our best lives, with the Battlehawks championship, continuing to covering games. So I've got a plan for next season. And if we don't go and support it, what do we have?
This is the first I'm hearing of next year. I didn't know this was a multi-year engagement that I signed on to with you, Judy. But if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be us.
It's you and I. Luke,
Right.
I don't know that anybody else can handle me. I mean, I'm a lot to handle. So
I was listening to that song today, Black Crows covering Otis Redding. Hey, let
right,
me, baby, let me light your chemicals.
yeah,
Mama, I'm so hard to
so
handle.
hard to handle that other stuff.
Man,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm a little overzealous, and yes, I am already thinking of next year. The fact that we're gonna win the championship. We've got the viewership. And that next year we're just gonna blow the roof off of it.
only consistent Battlehawks programming in the greater St. Louis area. So do with that what you will. Okay, final thoughts here. We're going to wrap things up because you got to get to Point Fest. And I've got other shows today. As you go to see 311, The Urge, Toadies, Finger
Oh,
11, Sick Puppies,
also,
Alien Ant
mhm.
Farm.
Oh,
Wow.
absolutely. No, I'm super stoked for 311 and the Urge. However, did you hear that? And when I say this, of course you heard. Orioles fired their head coach.
That is the show that I have to do. For those watching and just
Mhm.
don't know the man behind the curtain, I do some East Coast baseball related shows. Now, technically, I'm a live post game show host. So I have to focus on the Orioles who are getting the break speed off them right now against the
Kyle
Nationals. And
Gibson.
then
Kyle Gibson is really, but Jack Flaherty, he's doing all right.
he was about to Luke Skywalker himself into MLB retirement. And then Mike Elias, former Cardinals scouting director, was like, hey, man, we really need you. And it has gone horribly. He's throwing batting practice right now. And I mean, he pitched okay for the Cardinals last year because he was a 5 in there.
Mhm.
They had Lynn, they had, not Miles Michaelis, but they had, better
Well,
arms in
and
the
when they
Sonny Gray.
did, oh no, we were just throwing in whoever last year. Like it's really kind of fun to watch the prospects pitch this year. They're doing a great job. But I saw today how manager of the Orioles, I think that they've lost 28 games. Like they're what, 15 and 28? It's not doing well. Kyle Gibson is not doing super. So I was like, oh man, poor Luke. He he has to make something positive out of.
No. See, listen, I'm not a sunshine pumper. And even for these 2 losses this year for the Battlehawks, I am not going to force something that's not true down people's throats. Not how we do business here on Sports Hub STL. I will say this, because we're not going to talk baseball here on this Battlehawks themed show. Of course, the final score 29-28 over the Birmingham Stallions today. Maybe the one franchise that resents Jack Flaherty more than the Cardinals. I will say that as the one where it's like, well,
isn't that wild? I mean, that's a wild thing. Luke, you should have saw me rolling through the dome. The call is the law. The call is the law. The call is the law. I mean, I'm like super pumped up that we pulled out this win. This was a huge win. And I think if we really could get Phil McGeehan on, I know that I kind of said, no, I don't want to do it. But now after today, because it's our offense figures it out. I mean, Donnie Abrams and Coach Kasky, they can't do it all. Phil McGeehan has to figure this out. He really does. So if we could somehow get him on the show, he won't like me. And at this point, because I want to win a trophy so bad that I'll be the bad guy. If our offense doesn't figure this out, we're not going to win a trophy. It just is what it is.
Battlehawks offense outperformed by the Stallions. I will issue one correction. I know I don't like to chastise you on the air, Judy, but one thing you said blatantly false. Everyone likes you. Everyone loves you.
Well, I appreciate that. Again, you're the nicest guy ever. I always tell Randy Carricker he's the nicest guy in St. Louis. And then I have just now characterized you as the nicest guy ever. So you kind of elevated Randy Carricker there.
Well, that's good to know. Ask anyone at Bally Sports Midwest. They will offer a completely opposite analysis. But that's where we leave it today. As the Battlehawks escape, they win in the Battledome. Final score 29-28 over the Birmingham Stallions. Judy Strawder, give me a chant, and Ethan Hannaford will count us out.
Okay, well, I have 2 things. The call is the law. The call is the law. Good call.
You did?
Oh, I mean, I'm still super stoked, so I can talk about the Battlehawks all day long.
You said you had 2 things, and that was one.
Oh, gosh. No, I am just out of my mind about the game today. It was the best ever.
All right. I will wrap things up for us here. As the final score is 29-28, the Battlehawks over the Birmingham Stallions. Thank you so much for watching on Sports Hub STL. We're presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours, by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, and by Hot Shots. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. Thanks for watching. We will see you next week on Battlehawks Hub. Have a good night.
Luke, was that hilarious to you?
We're still going. We're still going.
We are still going. Well, how about that?